he didn't want it, so he seceded his shtick of land that he had in Eretz Canaan and to Yaakov and say, you keep it, I don't want it, and whatever, and that's why he left. He also brings down the Sefer's words, and then it says, the bush that he sold the Bechayr. Now the bush that he sold the Bechayr was he was 15 years old when he did that. So that's a long, long time before. So it could be that was first chal on him. The degree of busha was not chal on him until Yaakov Avinu goes away to Chovan, because then when he went by the brachas, at that time he realizes what he did. But until then he didn't really maybe realize what he did. But now he realized it, and he left at that time. So why is it Shalai could say that? Why is it saying is that he went now? Over there that he went then. So it could be that he didn't want to tell you that he left. 30 years, 22 years earlier, because it would come out that there's a better land maybe than Eretz Canaan. Now, the people would think that why would Esav go away from a good land to a bad land? So Mistam, it must be that the land over there must be better than the land over here. So it would come out to such like a bazoyan of like in a way, like it says Vayomes Terach b'Choron before it says Lech Lecha Me'atzecha. Even though Lech Lecha Me'atzecha took place before Terach dies. It shouldn't look like he left his father and went away. So here also it shouldn't look like he left Eretz Canaan because he wanted to go to a better land. He left Eretz Canaan because there was no room for him, and then there wasn't just having a fight at the moment. So therefore he gave it over to Yaakov Avinu. That's what I think, the only thing I could think of. So therefore Taka was in Eretz Seir the whole time, and that's why he had to send it to Eretz Seir. Okay. And I don't know why when it brings down Vayachas Shalito, the Satzeves Haboka V'Hagmalim L'Shnei Machanes. If he's mentioning everything that he has, and he has Asoinos also. So why didn't he mention the donkeys? Why did he mention only the Gemalim, not the donkeys? So I don't know. How do I know he had donkeys? Because obviously that's what he said in Taisa of Matana. So obviously he had donkeys. The child is now why was it important to tell us that he divided the animals? It's called a chusha. He could have said, he divided his properties. And that would have been the logic of it, that he divided half and half. Half will escape and half will whatever. Yeah. Anyway, he faced the Rabbeinu Shalom, and he says, Rashi, the Goyen, the Frande Gemara says that a person is allowed to have 1/8 of an eighth of Gaiva. And that the topic is Gabi being, what do you call it, a Rebbe, to be makben on the Talmidim, a certain amount that he has the demand covered, but it's only 1/8 of an eighth, whatever the shiur pshat, 1/8 of an eighth. When it says 64th, maybe you can't say 64th, so simply, so it says 1/8 of an eighth, but I still can't answer that. I don't know why. But anyway, but over here, the Goyen says it means the 8th pasuk in the 8th seder. That pasuk is Keteintim Kol HaSod Nikol Emes HaShisi Savdecha. In other words, that I have nothing. So there's no gaiv at all. It could be that this Gemara could be, I don't know if you want to tie it that way, because it's they don't really bring it in, but Rabbi Levitis' statement in Pirkei Avos, in the fourth parak, it says that a person should always be a shval ruach, moed moed, right? And the Rambam over there goes in to explain that in the midas of one extreme to another extreme, shval ruach is the extreme gaiva. The middle is an onav. So the ideal is an onav, but it's very hard to be an onav. So therefore, it's better if you go all the way to the other end to be a shval ruach. Now, shval ruach l'chayri means a person who requires no kavod at all. In other words, there are people that are satisfied with their own idea of who they are. No, they don't need the world to know who they are. But that also is gaiva. Like, I'm the power behind the throne, right? So, I mean, would you say this about gaiva? Of course he is. He's saying how choshev he is. He doesn't want to tell it to anybody else because who knows what they will do to him because he'll tell it to somebody else. But Lamaisa, he feels in himself tremendous gaiva, right? He feels I'm somebody special. And I have this thing, we have people who want to display, like say, certain art people that they pay, they steal art from museums, and they build a whole place for them, a secure, like a safe, because they have to have it air conditioned the right way and stuff that only he can see it, right? But that gives him the pleasure that he knows he can see it. He doesn't care about anybody else. He doesn't care that anybody else knows that he has it. Because they know he has, they'll put him in jail. But the thing is that this gives him the pleasure to himself. So that's the biggest gaiva in the world. And it's interesting, just interesting how, when they print in Yonim, when I was learning with the boys, Pirkei Avos, and they had these little brown Seforim, which is a new translation, they found a new Rabbeinu, and they printed it, and they have the Rambam over there tells the Maisa with the Chosed Echad. And it says there's a Chosed Echad that once they asked him when was the best, when he reached the biggest time that he felt in his life, when he was on a boat, and he was obviously down in the bottom place in the steerage, if you would call it that. And the next place where people had to go to the bathroom, they would go over there. And he was laying among the ropes, and a person came down and made on him. So the first volume we got on this, it said, "Es hachosa hazeh," this low life made on me. It bothered me terribly. How could you be a low life? The guy's supposed to be the honor. He's supposed to be the shval ruach, because that he's the chosed echad. So he has no gaiva in him, and he's insulting somebody. We're talking about even from the Rishoyim. We're not talking about that just from the tzaddikim. He's an honor. He's an honor even from the Rishoyim. The shalas, how could that be? Not the way you understand it. Maybe, you'll say from the tzaddikim, I didn't accomplish what he can accomplish. I didn't accomplish what the Keches, the Rebbeinu gave me to accomplish, so I didn't accomplish as much. But he, on the other hand, he has less geschweinus than me, but he's accomplishing what he accomplished, what he was supposed to accomplish. In that case, I got to give him credit. He's a better person than I am. I may be bigger than him, but he's a better person than me. This is the Shiva means from the Yosef ben Bered, Rabbi Yeshua, that he asked him, what did you see? And he said, he says, so an upside down world, the Elyonim Lamaila, the Elyonim Lamata v'Tachteinim Lamaila. So he said, so he saw the truth. So the said, Shiva asked, what do you mean he saw the truth? Didn't he understand that there are people that put on a big fake show in this world, and they're nobodies? So therefore, of course, they do. And they have to, so they can be Galyanim, and then the Tachteinim in Elam Emes. So what was this kasha? But his kasha was that in Olam Emes they also called El Yonim. And that's what bothered him. He couldn't understand. So he said that El Yonim because of what they accomplished, that the Gdei Hador, but the Gdei Hador could have been much bigger than they are. And therefore they didn't live up to the potential that they had, that they possessed. But on the other hand, the Pashid Yid, that all you can do is say Tillim. But Lamaisi lived up to the potential that he had. He did all that he could do, and therefore he's Lamaila. So therefore that's the questions. That's the way normally a person feels, no matter how much bigger I am than somebody else, but I can't brag about it, even to myself, because I haven't lived up to my potential. So therefore, I always have that doubt. You never know if you live up to potential, so you always have that doubt. So you don't know. But what do I need Yishval Ruach for? In other words, so the only reason you need Yishval Ruach is because Gaiva is a very hard thing to hold back sometimes. So if Yishval Ruach, you don't need anything. You don't need any Gaiva. Where do you go? But if I have at least to myself to have Gaiva, so then I'm not Yishval Ruach anymore. That's what bothered me about it. So anyway, over the years, we got a new brown book. The same, I think, it was the same idea, the same publisher, the same guy put it out, but this time it said es haseicher hazeh. Now then I realized chosel seicher is all it is a change of the samach and the ches, right? So it's a typo. There's nothing to do with the first time with a typo, which had been verkehrt. I looked at one of the new shasim that they put out with the Vayishlach and everything else. They put it down as 2 gilses. And you can understand it, I can't understand it. Okay. So in this case, if he's ketointim and kol chasodim, he really doesn't have to ever worry about being about gaivenik. So again, I was telling you, so how can we about gaivenik though? A none of Menach from the bad guy in the class. I know the guy's Machal Shabbos. We all went to yeshiva together. Now he's Machal Shabbos. He's a no good nick and everything else. So he's Mikol Ha'odom Ha'shopnei Ha'adoma. Even from that guy. So how can it be an honor from that guy? I think the only way that makes sense to me is if I'd be in his situation, I'd be much worse than him. And therefore, that's why I can't say I'm better than him. Because I don't know what I would have been if I was in this situation. Okay. Anyway, he sends a gift to Esav. These are three things that you prepare for to fight with Esav. First, you do tefillah, which is what he did. Then he sends a gift. Hopefully, we can end this thing in peace. And third, he sets himself up for war. That's what we'll talk about when he meets Esav. Okay. And he gives him a point to give this repetition that's necessary and so on. And it says over here that what he is supposed to say is supposed to say, Avdechol, you're supposed to say, Avdechol. That I'm Avdechol to Esav, right? And Mikivash Esav, he said, who is this guy? V'amata la'avdechol liYaakov. Mencha yishlucha doing the Esav. And the Pirkei Eliezer brings down a big taina on why he said the word Avdechol. I made you a nothing to Esav, and you say you're an Avdechol to Esav. But so there you learn out there a lot of Imchanef Rishoyim by Lamazeh. In other words, B'Shem Sakonev, what he calls Shimsholim, you're allowed to be Mechanef Rishoyim, even though normally you're not allowed to do that. So therefore, you see from Yaakov Avinu that you're allowed to. The Kasha became, though, maybe the ones that he told them that they have to, this is what they should say to them, that I understand. But he also calls himself Avdecha. Where does he say that? That's what you should say. And you should say that also. There's a Russian talking that he says himself. Huh? Oh, you're eating, Vayimel avodav evil lefanai, it is, we said like daily lace, oh, you're mincha lace of all this. What pasuk?
Hey.
Huh?
Hey.
Hey?
V. Later on, he said,
No, before. When he sends it, he says that he's, I want to send a gift, like Danny Leisu.
the second pasuk in the Parsha.
Give me what's the second? Number 2, days.
Right in the beginning of the Parsha.
Oh, yeah. This is what you just say. So the first Ladeni Leisav is unnecessary. Why are you telling him that part? That's nothing to do with Hanifa. He doesn't even hear that. There's the Kaisamru that he hears. So what did you say? This part. So kind of maybe practice. If you don't get into the mood that you feel like Adoni, you're not going to give over that mood. And he has to get that practice into him. He's going to meet Esav, and Itaka doesn't feel that he's the Adoni, and he's going to have to make himself feel that he's that some kind of shvelus he's going to have to show. So you need practice to put yourself into that way of how you can act it out. So therefore, that's what he needed it for. Okay. Okay. Then what does he do? He also splits the machne. He sends everybody away to one machne. He originally split it into 2. And now he puts them all together, and he himself is the only one that's in the other machne. Even probably without the cattle, without anything, he sends everything over. So the cash is, why did he do that? That's not a way to split up 50-50. That's all or nothing. The chat is, no, that's 50-50. What do I mean 50-50? Yaakov Avinu knew with Nevuah that he's going to be able to have 12 sons and they're going to build Klal Yisrael. Now, I can have 12 sons without having a father. In other words, you gave birth to the 12 sons, you did your job, you're dead. Therefore, we don't need you anymore. But the 12 sons, they'll escape. Or, if the Bainishim for some reason doesn't like these 12 sons and he's going to wipe them out, at least I'm alive that I can have again 12 sons that they could have. But that's the way you divide it, because we have the 12 sons will still exist through me in the future or through me in the past. But one way or the other, the 12 sons will exist. And that's why he divided him against everybody else. Now, this malach that he fought with, so Parshas with Tzori Shaleisov, so we understand a little bit what the Sal Shaleisov wanted over here. Again, the Sal Shaleisov also understands who Esav is, and he also serves HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and he also understands the name of Kedusha. So I guess what it means is that he was fighting with him to try to find a weak point that he has. In other words, where can I get him that he showed he's not such a big tzaddik, not such a big good guy. And but others learn pshat that it is Mechoyel, the Sar of Yisrael, his own Sar. So why is his own Sar attacking him? His own Sar should be, pushing for him. Shaila is the Ikel Taina on Esav, the Ra'ira as Esav is Habacheira, we said before, was because he was afraid of his sakonis nefashis. You tamas something, you become tummy, you eat something when you're tummy. Whatever it is, you get a chorus. The color is a dangerous thing. So therefore, who needs the headache of being a kohen? I'd rather be able to stay away from Kedusha. I don't need the Kedusha. I don't want to be involved with Kedusha. Let me be my tum and I have no problem. Right? So he didn't need it. And that's called Vayidas Eisves HaPechoyra. But that's considered bezoyan, that you don't appreciate it. So all of a sudden, so you're supposed to be fearless when it comes to the Shayil of Avodas Hashem. So how come you're afraid? Sometimes there's two different types of fear. The fear of sakana, which we're talking about, that obviously I'm afraid of. And of course, that's totally on my schusim. Don't have schusim. But the fear of serving HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that I have to be careful in order not to be over any of the Avedas. Of course, because of the fear, I'm going to be more careful, not less careful because of that. So therefore, it's not a stira one to the other. That's what the argument was all about. Comes, sees Esav, and Esav comes running in there, and he tries to bite him. They breaks his teeth. In other words, that he was, why would he bite him? I mean, they got a sword and kill him, you understand? Why would he bite him? But from the particular, it's mashma that he was so angry at Yaakov, he had such a sinner to him, that he wouldn't be satisfied by killing him with a sword. He'd have to kill him with his own teeth, his own thing that he can bite him, he can taste his blood. That was like how that sinner that he had to Yaakov. And it busts his teeth. So all of a sudden, obviously, that breaks your what do you call it? And therefore, all of a sudden, you're more calm because you see something's wrong over here, and I haven't got him on my side, and I'm still behind him. Yitzchak is still alive, so he really has to stay away from him. So maybe he's going to wait his time out. They'll get him a different time. Okay. Yaakov set up the kids in a strange way. He puts what you call the less chashuva first, the next more chashuva, and then the most chashuva last. Now, it doesn't make any sense to me that that we should have this setup in the thing. First of all, if it's pshat to say, like if Esav is going to attack, let them get the first ones first. In other words, the shvachos and their kids first, then get it, but I'll save Rachel for last. So first of all, I don't think that he was machshav one son over the others as far as Avodas Hashem goes. He personally may have loved Yosef more than the others, but he understood that everyone had their mokim in Avodas Hashem, and maybe even a higher place than Yosef. Malchus, David, Yehuda, the Kahuna, which is Levi, they may be in a higher madrege than Yosef is. But Maisa, personally, I love Yosef. Well, that's one thing I do to high madrege and what they call it. They're called fish, or whatever reason they have about them. So obviously, I don't think he would say that, for Klal Yisrael, I got to save Yosef. That's not the, what do you call it? And the fact that he put himself first was really what he meant. You got to pass me, you got to go over my dead body to get it done. So it doesn't make a difference, with all the kids. As soon as they attack him, they're able to run away. So there's no... They're safe. So why do you have to make this order? So I think could be the order is to show the type of children he had and who they are, and he showed the shvachis would be better a little bit probably if we go with there's in Seis HaBrocha, there are which 5 brothers did Yosef bring out to show pari, the weaker ones. So some of the taiches where it doubles in the word is the weaker ones, they double their name, or whatever it is. So it comes out, if you go according to one, it comes out that the four shvachis are weaker ones. Otherwise, they came out of Bnei Leo, the weaker ones. So the four shvachis and Zvulun is the weaker one. The other way you would have the other five, not Zvulun, whatever it is. But I'm just saying, with that, with the old feet, that Lashon, it makes sense. I show you my weaker kids. You're not so scared yet. I then show you my stronger kids. You get a little more scared, like you don't set up me so patient. And then I bring out Yosef, who's the one that it says Yosef is the one that's going to destroy Esau in the end. So I wanted you to see him. But last, I uncover him after the whole show. That was the point. Not that I was putting them up so in case of a fight, but it just was to show them to his brother. Then he asked him who's, what was all the gift that you sent over there? So he says, I sent him, all right, it was a present of peace. So he says, you keep it, I don't need it. Yeshli Ravachi, I have a lot. And Esav and Yaakov answers him back, no, please take it, Yeshli Ravachi, I have everything. And the Shiva Zatzal tried to explain to people what the difference is between the two. And once I was out of town when he explained it the first time, I think. And the people came with that, that understanding. These were rich people who understood a little bit the differences of the chayiv. A lot of people can't give tzedakah until yeshli rav. I have to have plenty before I can share. Because if I don't have, I may not have enough for myself. I don't, right now I have enough for myself, no, but I'm going to be around in 500 years from now. I have to have enough for myself. I still can't share, right? So that's a guy who needs yeshli rav. I need plenty. I have to have a point where I see that it's no use for me, and you might as well have it. I don't need it. That's that type of about stuff in the world. And then there's the one that yeshli called. I have every type of, I have money or possessions for every need that I have. I have personal needs. I have to give tzedakah needs. I have other things. And even to send gifts to a Russian, even to give you gifts. And he says with that it comes out better a little bit, what Rashi had to try and find, actually, Tzoyin, Vakav, Eved, Shifra, everything in the singular. Why is he using the singular when it's plural? So Rashi says plural is also called singular. Singular is also plural. So what he said, maybe you can say every individual cow counts to me. Every individual dollar I have has a place. It's not just I have plenty of dollars. Here, have some. It's not the thing. Some of them have to give tzedakah, some of them have to give matanis, some of them I need to tzedakah, and some of them I need for myself, whatever it is there. A person divides his money, but each one is important. Yeshli Kerla, that's what I have everyone. Okay, he avoids going back with Esav to Seir, and he comes to Sukkot, and he's struggling. Why didn't he go to his father? Why he came to Eretz Yisrael? He's told to go, to vanish him to go to Eretz Yisrael, to go to his father. Why is he taking his time? I don't really know, but from here first we'll have to understand why was he states? What was the reason that was Nana's 22 years that Yosef wasn't by him, but the 22 years that he wasn't by Yitzchak? 22 years you weren't by Yitzchak, you were anonymous. Oh, 20 years by you, they sent him away to Lavan. You're right. For the 20 years I was by Lavan, I was anonymous. But if you want to see how much of an anonymous I really was, you judge the last 2 years. The last 2 years, somehow you straggled. You didn't come to Yaakov until I told you to go. And that was 2 years later, 2 years after he came to Eretz Yisrael already. So for that 2 years, it shows that the first 20 years, you really weren't that upset either. Therefore, you had for 20 years too. And the same thing that we find that Hishei ben Elah, it's really not completely the same, but by Hishei ben Elah, the Churban came in his time because he took away the gods from preventing the Yidden from going to Eloi L'Regel. They still didn't go there, so therefore the Vayishlach was the Churban. Now, with all the years, they had an excuse that the reason we didn't go to Eloi L'Regel because the king don't let us. But once that excuse went away, they were chayiv golos right away, but not for just the last minute. They chayiv golos because you didn't go for all these years. You didn't go. And that's where you chayiv golos, not for just 1 year. You didn't go. And that's what the Rebbeinu said. So therefore, you do add up things that even though there was something preventing you, but you yourself have to know that obviously. When any Nisoyin comes to me and I have two motives that are shaykh, I have to know myself which is the primary or even how much percentage do I have in each one. And a lot of the ways you're only going to know it is only if you have complete freedom and only one way to go and you don't do it, then you know for sure that the reason that you didn't go had nothing to do with the other method with the honors. It had to do with the fact that it wasn't interesting. That's a taina. Except that you'll say for living 20 years in the same country with my father, it would be very hard not to see him. So therefore, it has nothing to do with what I want to see him. It's just every so often you got to visit your father. What do you do? That doesn't count. That's not called I want to see my father. Okay. Then it says Vatei Dina Vasleya, which is the Sheyoldu Yaakov, what he called. She wanted to see the people. Now it seems from the Pikei Eliezer that he saw her before he made the parades and stuff to get her interested to go out and see what's going on. He happened to see her, who she was, and all of a sudden he had a tremendous taiva. And he had to possess her. But first, she's a Jewish kid, and so he's not running outside. So he made ganze tumults, raids, and stuff of that sort. And in Mele, she became curious, and she went outside. As soon as she became outside, where she was away from her family, he grabbed her and he was manasa. Okay, and that's the way they explain the story. And fakert, normally, if that happens, you had your use from this thing, so you're finished with it. And fakert, in his case, he wanted her twice as much. He wanted not even marry her or even do anything, even though he was mitama already. Okay, so Vayishlach made such a thing. And okay, and the Midrash says what happened over here was that the taina on Yankov Avinu, that when he first met Esav, it says when he put out the kids, it doesn't say where Dinah was. It says, why didn't he say where Dinah was? Because he hid Dinah in a box. He didn't want Esav to see Dinah because then he'll want her as a wife, and he's not willing to give it to him. So the Medrash brings it as a taina. You didn't give your daughter to your brother, so that to a mole, because he had Mila, which is, of course, totally under from the Medrashim, but I'm assuming that this Medrash held he was Moal, so he was Gemald, and instead what happened, you gave it to an animal took her. So that was Shem. Yeah, that was the thing. Now, what was your logic involved in this? The logic involved was that that Pshat is, he's one to Runa. He might marry Esav. Esav, what's Esav going to do there? He's going to make her into a tramp, into a no good nick, into what he called, and I don't want to do that. So I'm going to protect my daughter, right? But you didn't think the other way. Maybe my daughter will make him into a tzaddik. Take all the keiches that Esav has, all this riches, all this power that he has, this strength, like Rish Lakish. Rabbi Yochanan saw Rish Lakish, he says, your strength is for Torah. That's the way you should have looked at Esav. Your strength is for Avodas Hashem. So come and serve Hashem. I don't want to do it like this. Okay. My daughter will get you to want to do it for me, guy. Just like Rabbi Yochanan gave up his sister to Rish Lakish, right? My sister can do this, right? I can't do it, my sister can do it. Okay, so here also, that's a taina. Again, the shul with Shvel, the Siyah, if it would happen to us, I think we would be like dealing like a Yankiv, like my daughter again. Says no. What happened later on after she was nitma by Yeshu? It's very strange thing. What happens to the daughters of Yankiv Avinu? Who's she going to marry in this world? Right? She's a lost soul. So they have her marrying Eve. Okay, now Eve was a big tzaddik, possibly a Navi, and a very big man, but he was an animal. He was not more. Right? Because there was no mitzvah middle for him. So he wasn't more. And maybe he didn't do like all the mitzvahs like Avraham Avinu did. So therefore, he wasn't about, but he was still a tzaddik Amma. Or maybe Fakert, because she married Eve, she brought him to the Madrege that he should become a mole. In other words, that she was able to bring him into the highest Madrege of Kedusha possible. So, okay, you say, well, what's your comparison, Esav to Eve? Eve is a tzaddik and Esav is a rasha. So with a tzaddik, she can work on him, she can make him into a bigger tzaddik, but a rasha, how's she going to fix it? So that's a lesson that I think is very important for us. If a person is not loyal to become a mekurev for the biggest Hoshoyim in the world, then he shouldn't even try to become a mekarev by little Hoshoyim, by people who are off the derech or they're far away, they don't know too much, because the fear of becoming in the way that they live now, the tumah that they have, even though someone going to go through the college scene, right? They don't believe they're bad people. They forget they think they're very good people, right? Yet it's not something I won't put my daughter through, right? But so to deal with those people, I can't put them in because they're very enticing way of life. They're begashmistic way of life. That may be enticing to the person that's listening to them. And therefore, it's not kedai to put such a person if he's a fear that he would be pulled off the derech by a big Russia, he'll be pulled off the derech by a little Russia, because he gets enticed with the type of lifestyle that they live, and that's the same danger. The only time you can give him over to work on guys with the little riches is only if you can trust them with the big riches. And therefore, if you would have trusted him, if you trusted her with Eve, you should have trusted her with Esav. If you didn't trust her with Esav, then you should not have trusted her with Eve either. That's the Tainan Yankiv. Anyway, I just want to skip a little bit around here to understand who the chayri is and who the chivi is. So let's understand nation-wise. There is no Parshas Lech Lecha, there is no mention of the word chivi at all. Yet we know they're one of the Shivumas. How did they get to be one of the Shivumas? They don't even get their land, period. So why is he the one of the Shivumas? Okay. So that's one question. So now we'll see who is the chivi. So we see Elam and Isaiah, Hacheri Yeshvi, Horetz, right? Hacheri. So Rashi, why they called Hacheri Yeshvi Horetz? Medrash that they were able to tell what to plant in a certain place. And now Chayri is not a nation. Chayri is I guess a knowledge of how to plant and stuff. They all had that knowledge. It was fantastic knowledge that they had. But what nation were they really? They were the Chivi. How do I know they're Chivi? Because one of their chief members is Olivama, right? Skip 2 pages, sorry. Who is Esav's wife, Elivama Basana. So you see that's a chivi is called, and it's a chayri. So you see the chayri is the chivi. Okay. Now the chayri is the chivi, and they live in Haseya. So what's it got to do with the chivi in Eretz Yisrael? So we see Shechem was a chivi. Who else was a chivi? The Gevinim were chivim, right? So that was the land that Esav gave up. And they just Emerson, he had a shtick of land here. He goes, the Emerson, the chivi, we don't get. That's part of the Keni, Knizi, Kadmoni. That's Esav's chelik in the first come to us, Losad Lovei. So therefore it doesn't mention the word chivi, just mentions Esav, which is one of the Keni, Knizi, Kadmoni. So therefore it's one of those nations. So therefore the chivi will come to us first, Losad Lovei. So, but Esav went away, right, from Eretz Yisrael. And they left over these parts, the Shechem and the Gevinim and everything else there. So we don't have to wait for Losad Lovei now. Now they're in Eretz Yisrael, and we can take them now. We don't have to wait for Eretz Yisrael. That's what happened with them. So now we had 7 nations. What happened to the 7th nation, the original 7th nation? That happened. That was the Seforim. The Seforim were all wiped out by Kedar Laima, so therefore there wasn't any more Seforim. But their land, we still had Oigal, Haboshan, and Sichon. Their land was populated by the Amori, which was already one of these nations that were given over to the Yidden. And their land is whatever you call it. So therefore, the Seforim, and the only Seforim they were talking about at that time was Oig. Eretz Oig was part of Eretz Yisrael. It should have been part of Eretz Yisrael. That's the Seforim. The other part that belonged to Noyav, that's only Tia. Again, Tia b'Sichon. That's because Sichon took it. We were allowed to take it from Sichon in India. So that was the thing. So that's that's who they are. Okay. Now, it's Rashi brings down another thing, that who is she? Dr. Elivama, he Yehudis Bas Be'eri. In other words, back when he was 40 years old, he married 2 women, and it says 2 Chitis. Yehudis Bas Be'eri, a Chiti, and the other one, who is the same. So yes, he says that's Yehudis. What it says, that was a Chiti over there, and now he's called a Chivi. So some people say, and these are Meforshim that say it, Chiti, Chivi, what there is in it, Tov Avav, it's the same 3 letters, they don't make a difference. What do you mean? The 7 nations. It makes a difference to us, Neches, Chivi. course, they're different nations. So the pshat is the chivi that it is because the chivi had a mum of acting. I mean, not a mum, that was their characteristic, their nationalistic characteristic that had in genetics were they good actors. And in Mele, what do you word Yehudis mean? Yehudis means that I'm Polish Ma'avedizorah, right? And she was Oived Avedizorah. I mean, and she wasn't very good. So you can say she was a lousy actress. That could be. But Lamaisa, she was Oived Avedizorah. So what do you mean she was Yehudis Bas Beiri? But when Ma'isa wanted to introduce her, why? Because Avram Avinu didn't let them marry any people from the Chivi. He didn't want acting to come into Klal Yisrael. Now, the only thing I can figure out why not, and I'll show you where he did it, is that acting is one of the methods to learn how to really act is you have to live the part of the part you want to act. If you want to play drunk, you got to act like a drunk for a while, and so you get to be able to, becomes part of you. So you can, I'm going to put in a keach of acting into Klal Yisrael, where they have enough trouble trying to find who they are between Rash and Tzaddik. I'm going to put in acting into them also. You can play role, you can pretend to be a Tzaddik and be a Rash, really. So that's a dangerous thing. So they wanted to keep it out of Klal Yisrael. Where was this thing coming to come in? Timna, who was from the Chayri, wanted to become a Geuris all the years. And Avram turned it down, and Yitzchak turned it down. And so what did she do? She went to Esav, and she became not only not a wife, she became a Pelegish to Eliphaz, not even to Esav. Esav married her niece, and she becomes the aunt, who's the princess in a way, and she becomes a Pelegish to Eliphaz because she wanted to become so much dovuk in the Zarish of Avron. And from the Gemara's mashma like that, and from the Bilez's mashma like that, that's why Amalek comes from her as a revenge to Klal Yisrael, against Klal Yisrael, that they weren't accepted her. In other words, mashma, we should have accepted her. But they had a taina, we don't want this. You know where it sneaks into Klal Yisrael? Through Osnas. Osnas is what do you call it? Daughter is Dina's daughter from Shechem, which is a Chivi, and that gave over that Keach into Osnas. And who are her children? Her children is Ephraim, who has Reuven ben Nevot, and Achav from him. And these two Rishoyim, it's contradictory. Yerugodl Hador by Reuven and Yechote Machte. It just two extremes. Your Achav was called an Achla Lashem of Lavedizorah. Again, the two extremes. And but they're able to pull it off because they're actors. They have that keich in them. So therefore, I kind of, that's what really mentioned until he showed her the Ksubit. It didn't say that he showed her the Shtar Kiddushin. The Shtar Kiddushin doesn't say any names. It says in the Shtar Kiddushin, he says, hurry up, make this, and that's it, and you give it to her. You want to have in states of Adam, you have to sign yourself, but she has it, and she's the married woman, that's all. But if I want to give money I have to have Adam for. So therefore, they have to have my name in there. Who do you owe the money to? So Pshat is when Yaakov Avinu lost the Shechina. Why? Because he saw that Achav and Yerav are going to come from Ephraim. The other one, the Bat Yehu, I don't know, but only from the Ephraim part. Definitely he saw he lost the Shechina. Like, who are these people? How did Tzrishas come from me? Doesn't make sense. That shouldn't be from anyone such Tzrishas. And when he brought us, so what did he do? He brought it his star ksuba to show that everything was above board. So maybe he said, oh, now it became Menucha. What was the Menucha? He saw the name. He saw Osnas's name. They say, oh, now I understand what happened. Osnas came in. How did that happen? The Rebbeinu Shalom obviously made it happen, and therefore we came into Klaisa. Now, why did it come into Klaisa? Why was it so important to bring it into Klaisa? I think because of all the acting that Klaisa must do in the Golos. We have to show with body stool to show him and to go him and to act with things instead of standing up for our rights or whatever it is there. And all of these things are a way of acting. And that's part of that we needed it for shit to live, to be able to exist during the goals that we have. So we should have that gaiva, that everything else that we have, but to feel secure in ourselves that, we're really good guys, but we're acting like this. So, to don't feel so bad. But, so therefore we're able to live through the goals. That's what I think is the big problem that we had here in all the stories. Now, it's hard to know. I would assume, you talk about the mamzos, that everyone is a mamzer, Shalifas Bo, Aleshis, Loivama, and Alifas was also Bo, Aleshis, what's his name? Seir, and stuff like that. Now, Loivama is his own daughter, and whatever pshat is, I have no understanding in these pshatim, but it's not negeya. But the idea is that we see that there's mamzos, constant mamzos. So you'll say, well, weren't we? Yankee Avinu married two sisters, and what do you call it? Moshe Rabbeinu came from an aunt and an uncle, from an aunt and a nephew. So you have mamzer, mamzerim, the biggest in Klal Yisrael are mamzerim. Right? The mamzerim according to the Torah. But for the goyim, they're not mamzerim. On the other hand, the goyim that we're talking about is an Eishes Ish, or a mother, or an Eishes Ov. These things which are rayas to B'nai Noach too. That's the part that is telling us. So therefore, they're also to B'nai Noach, and they are all mamzerim. They're mamzerim, the B'nai Noach, they can mamzerim. That's the big time on them. And why not? The is, it's this is sisters. What do you call the things that these are the normal? What do they call? I forgot what the word you call. But this is a big problem they have in among goyim. You have the sisters and what you call it, because they're learning a little bit about it. Everything is on the TV. And they want to experiment. They're too chicken to go out in the street and find new people. And with themselves, they can play around, and they come out to do many things that are rasa. And in there, so the concept of mamzos is a big concept that exists. So especially in the hillbilly territories, they tell, because what they call it in the birth is inbreeding. That they're all so close to each other in the thing there, the Batalamis, that they put my sister married a brother. That was the way you want to keep all the Chochman in the Malchus. And at the same time, you also brought in all the nuttiness that exists there. You double the chances of it happening. And that you have, they claim inbreeding in the Ozarks, and as they say, they have the Pineys in New Jersey. That they have this inbreeding because there isn't nobody else around. So therefore they have automatically this inbreeding that they have. I guess that's it. Anyway, have a good Shabbos next week. I hope to have it. I'm going to the Aguda convention, but I think we're going to be able to do it from the convention. So Mirza Hashem, I'll see you next week. Shabbos.
Shabbos, Rabbi.